Okay, so relatively official that Rey Mysterio has now signed with AAA or Triple A, depending on your pronunciation. And he might do a couple of dates in Lucha Underground. Currently, Lucha Underground is filmed up until May. So we will have to wait till like May to see him in the temple. Del Rio. Sorry, El Patron. Just call him Alberto. Defended his AAA title against Tejano in a match in Lucha Underground, which was just fantastic. Not your typical high-fly luchador style match, but the fact that you had announcers, two of them, that did a fantastic job being like, oh, you didn't see their match in AAA? When Alberto defeated Tejano for the title? They brought you up to speed as quick as they could. They did the right amount of things where, in Lucha Underground, where they had Tejano attack Alberto. They did just the right amount. Their match had enough big spots, and I love some Lucha Underground. They'll do a couple of moves, go for a pin, so it's like, big flurry of offense. And then both guys will sell that they're getting beat down by the offense. It's not like, beat down, beat down, beat down, flurry of offense. I'm not selling, go for a pinfall. No. Everyone does their moves. They have enough downtime in between, so it really, really limits the amount of botching. It's like they went, you've got a 6-minute long match? Yeah, we're getting 7 minutes at a time. So you get those moments where you can do your offense, build some suspense, do your offense. This match with Tejano was just great. Tejano did a fantastic job when it came to distracting the ref, using his bull rope, and the way that it ended, spoiler, ended with a DQ, with El Patron taking the bull rope, and you see him just laying into Tejano. And when they pan to Tejano, you see bull rope welts on him, like he is legitimately beating the crap out of him. And the match had a phenomenal feel to it. You can tell now that El Patron is no longer in the E. When he goes out of the ring, he is a ball of fire. He's like, yeah! Gets the crowd into it. And his psychology and his demeanor and his flow of moves is so much crisper, so much better. It's like, he knows the crowd loves him, the crowd knows that they love him, and it's this perfect cycle. It's a fantastic build that makes for really, really solid match work. Looking for the same thing on Rey Mysterio, who's currently charging, I guess, $20,000 to show up and do autographs and signings. And pictures. So, don't feel bad for him at all. Rey's going to have a phenomenal career post-WWE. On SmackDown, the Bellas talked about how it was their idea to kind of do the Give Divas a Chance. Nikki in an interview said that they were given like 3 minutes to do a match, but they made the executive decision to do the 30-second roll-up pin victory to get fans pissed, to then draw heat to the Bellas, which failed because it drew heat to the company, to try to use that to get the hashtag going, to then propagate it going forward. Then later on in that same SmackDown, they had 3 women discussing the Give Divas a Chance movement. Cameron, Ava Marie, and Summer Rae. I don't get this at all. Cameron on Total Divas, the sassy attitude she's trying to bring to the ring that she does and she has in real life, comes off great on Total Divas. It does not seem to come across at all when she's doing a promo. It comes off so forced. Like, if you're sassy in real life, just take some of that real life sassiness and use it. Your dialogue is virtually identical. I think you can tell that she's reading something and that she's memorized something. It doesn't come off at all organic. And there's Ava Marie, who does like a hair toss. It's like, as long as I'm here, you will never get a chance. Hair toss. I'm like, wow. She is our redheaded Kelly Kelly. She's like, you know what? We can put you on the cover of a magazine. People are going to like to look at you. Not going to like to watch you wrestle, but we love looking at you. We can maybe get you this great, like, baby face sort of build-up where it's like, you know what? You're an attractive woman, and gosh darn it, you try. That's going to be your gimmick. Summer Rae. who was like, it's summertime, hair toss. And I'm like, you can't have 3 women, 2 of them leave doing a hair toss. You've got 3 women. They should all have some sort of, and I was like, girl bye. And I'm like, seriously, you could do something with 2 of them. Had it been just Summer Rae and Cameron, and not like Cameron talking. Summer Rae bumps into one side. Ava bumps into the other side. No. You should have just had the 2 of them, it could have been like an interview segment. Renee could have been talking to one of them, other one could have showed up, and then they could have had Renee as like the foil to go back and forth. Would have made a lot more sense. Renee, who just came out, so she's dating Dean Ambrose. Cool. Totally cool with that. And it felt so forced and so not organic at all. It was just horrible. When AJ cut her small bet on Raw, when she threw it out, it worked. And Paige sooner, like, my enemy is my friend? She seemed like she was genuinely confused as to why AJ helped her out, and that worked. It was short to the point, and it felt almost natural, which is what you want to have from professional wrestlers. And to build the DeMott piece. I've read a lot of the allegations about how he did make people wrestle. I think one of them was he was wrestling them in a thong. Don't close your eyes and picture Bill DeMott in a thong. You'll vomit all over the place. Now, unless you're going to Japan and wrestle hard gay, there's no reason you should wrestle a full-grown man in a thong. He also forced them to wrestle in thongs. Wrestlers tend to wear thongs, especially male thongs, because when you do anything that has your legs go over your head, there's an elasticity to a body part that can tap the canvas. You wear a thong to reduce that elasticity so it doesn't bounce off the canvas. Unless he was doing the, how humiliated could you be and still wrestle? But men tend to not have wardrobe malfunctions, nor do they tend to have very flamboyantly humiliating gimmicks anymore. So that does come off like it's bullying. The ripping off somebody's shirt when they have a neck injury. From what I recall, during the time in Tough Enough, people would have like minor injuries, like, I think I got I think one person said they had an issue, and someone goes, so you got like tennis elbow? Which is just elbow inflammation. It's painful, but you should still be able to do some stuff in the ring. Just don't pull on this arm. This elbow is inflamed. You're going to get hurt. You're going to have some mild injuries. You should be able to push through it. And normally they were rougher on those people. If you watch Tough Enough, if somebody blew a bump and it could have injured the trainer, they became rough on them. Probably because if you do that in the ring, you severely injure somebody else, you've affected your livelihood and their livelihood. So it makes sense to be rough. And all that means, if you blow a spot, pin the person down and go. If you do that in the ring, you could end somebody's career. And that might not be your career. So I can understand, being rough. And that's all I mean by rough. If someone does something that could severely injure somebody else, call them out on it and be like, if you do this, you could kill somebody. You could paralyze somebody. I understand it from that aspect. But that's more of if you make a severe mistake, and you're going to make mistakes in training, if you make a severe enough mistake that you could severely injure somebody, yes, it makes sense to call them out on it. Maybe be a little bit aggressive, get in their face, but if you do this, you could kill somebody. Show them footage of Owen Hart, great wrestler. Did Tombstone wrong. Broke Austin's neck, almost ended his career. Show those things. Show, look, here's a moonsault that went wrong. Broke a forearm. Show those sort of things. Use it as a teaching tool. Don't use it to beat up on somebody. You want to drive your point home, and if you think that, a little bit of physical intimidation, just a little bit, like if you do this, you can break someone's arm. If you want to, key lock somebody, hold them down and be like, see how your arm feels? See how much pain you're in? Not to the point of like breaking them, but do something to make it, this is what you could do to your opponent. I understand that from that aspect. I've gone to wrestling schools, people are doing like a drop kick drill, see someone get kicked in the face. And you see the person get up and continue on with the drill, and they're like, you're going to get kicked in the face. It's going to happen. Doesn't matter how great a wrestler you are, sooner or later you will get kicked in the face. You're going to need to be able to have enough wherewithal to keep on going. Enough muscle memory to take a bit of an injury and keep on going. I understand it from that aspect. If someone is in a boot with a broken ankle and you kick the foot, you've now gone from, like tough love, aggressive training, to abuse. And that should not be tolerated. The only downside of that is Bill's been training for some time. Some guys like his method, and they learn and they prosper. Other people, not so much. The E still does have a bit more of like a machismo sort of feel to it, where like, if someone's being rough to you, you might wrestle him who's going to wrestle you stiff. Bob Holly, notorious for wrestling people stiff. If he thought you were getting a better push than he ever did, he was going to work you stiff. And Bob, to his credit, worked with a back laceration where he was squirting blood, finished a match with a broken forearm. He's finished matches being severely beaten up. So he expects you to be able to take that same level of abuse and continue a match. And most people called Bob Holly a hard ass and a prick. A lot of that was why. Bill DeMott, from this time when we saw him on Tough Enough, he had moments where he wanted to joke with people and have a good time, but if you did something wrong, he was going to nail you to the wall. When it comes to the potential sexual abuse things, if those things did happen, again, this is the problem with allegations, is if there's no... is the burden of proof is always on the accuser, not on the accused. Is you have to be able to deliberately prove that these things happened. And it always is people who tend to come out, or with their quote-unquote washouts, who complain about these things on U-Shoot videos. And when you complain about these things on a U-Shoot, you then get to go do another U-Shoot. And then also other people come forward because it's a great way to continue to produce a level of revenue after you're done in the E. So I can kind of understand why the E has the whole, we think you're probably lying. There's not enough evidence to back up what it is that you're claiming. So at the exact same time, when these things happen, the E very, very simply could have done this. They could have said, okay, we're going to suspend Bill DeMott pending an investigation. You suspend him, even if you did like a 3-month suspension. You can say that he's suspended, you do your 3 months for investigation. If you find no wrongdoing, you bring him back. If you find wrongdoing, you let him go. To have him continue working while you're doing an investigation, that's a bad PR move. If it ends up being that these allegations came out, you put them on the shelf for 3 months, you could, I'm not saying like suspension without pay, you can still give him, like a portion of money so he's not destitute or whatever. You can still do that. It's kind of like when you're investigating a cop. He'll be on suspension and he'll get some money, but he won't get his full sum because he's not working. But to have him continue to work while you're doing an investigation, this does not jive well. So, I hope the allegations are false. If they are, they need to do something about it. I'd almost say what you do is, if you find out that's true, you take somebody who's a hoss, who Bill will not do anything against, like a Rusev. And you say, you know what, we think that you're wrestling kind of rough with these people. We're going to have Rusev work you stiff in a match. But you don't tell Bill. You have Rusev and Bill do a little bit of, like a little kind of like a training session. And then you have Rusev work him a little bit stiff. And then you then kind of go, Bill, you're the biggest guy in this room when I'm not here. If you're working these guys rough, and you're working them too rough, we will send somebody down here to put you in your place and have you know what it feels like. And I think somebody like Rusev could legitimately do that to him pretty easily. They're there to train and they're going to make mistakes. You want to make sure they don't make mistakes in the future, but you do not want to sexually abuse them or humiliate them in any form or fashion. There's enough anti-bullying campaigns going on with the E that when these things crop up, Anybody who wants to take a shot at the E is going to automatically use it against you. So, be smart about these things. You're living in the world of intense social media pressure. If anybody makes any allegation, false or not, people are going to run with it. Other people are going to be like, oh, that happened to me too, whether it happened to them or not. And they're going to propagate it going forward. You need to be smart. When you investigate Bill, you don't let him train. Then if he has done these things, not to the severity that of the accusers, when he comes back, you can go, this happens again, you're gone. Period.